Wakey wakey, the Kellogg'S football camps are back this summer. To claim a free place, purchase a promotional pack of Kellogg's cornflakes, Cocoa Pops or Rice Krispies. Scan the QR code on pack or visit kellogg'sfc.com to request your free code. See website for full terms and conditions. Welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees, and welcome to day 5 on this very special Kellogg's Football Camp Super Week. In this episode, we're going to be looking at one of the most iconic stadiums in British football and one of the most iconic places in Scotland. Of course, in this episode, Celtic fans, stick your fingers in your ears because we're going to be talking about no other than the Ibrox, aka Rangers FC's football stadium. Now, if you've been listening to this very special Kellogg's Football Camp Super Week, you'll know we've been doing a team shout out week as well. And I have a couple of others to shout out thanks to the brilliant people on Patreon. The first one says, "Hi Darren, my name is Charlie. I love listening to your podcast and I can't wait for new episodes. I play for a club called Wootton St George Youth FC and we recently reached the Northampton and District Youth Alliance League Under-9s finals. Well done to you lot. We didn't win it, unfortunately, but it was a brilliant experience. We got our own dressing room, we had our own names and a write-up in the programme and had some professional photos taken too. If you could give me and my teammates a shout out, that would be absolutely brilliant. Charlie, Freddie, Franklin, JP, Luca, Ewan, Leo, Jacob and Samuel. I would love it if you could send a massive thank you to our coaches as well, Dominic and Tim. They always make training so good and so fun, and we have loads of tournaments coming up this summer. We are hoping for some more medals and some more trophies. Well, Charlie, a massive shout out to you and to the coaches and to everybody who plays for Wootton St George Youth FC. And the last one on this one says, "Hi Darren, please shout out to the Cruise Academy who have their first tournament coming up." And that is from Theodore Billington. So Theodore Billington, a huge shout out to you and to everybody at Cruise Academy. Good luck in the tournament. So then, let's get into it, shall we? And let me start with a little story about the Ibrox. The other week, I was doing my other job, where I commentate on boxing matches. There I was, in a very grey and a very rainy Glasgow, which I'm told by the locals is a pretty common occurrence. I had about 10 hours to kill, so I booked myself onto a stadium tour at Rangers FC, and I wanted to go and see the Ibrox football stadium. I walked out of my hotel, I flagged the cab down and asked the taxi driver, "Could you please take me to Ibrox?" He looked at me sideways with a confused face and said, "Whereabouts in Ibrox? Ibrox is a whole area, pal." Excuse my dodgy Scottish accent, I was giving it my best shot. I explained that I'd booked on to see the stadium, and this is when I discovered that he was a very passionate Celtic fan. The taxi driver, for the next 15 minutes of the journey, proceeded to tell me every reason why he doesn't like Rangers, and how Celtic are a proper club and a bigger and a better club, and Rangers are worthless. Anyway, he wouldn't drop me off outside the stadium because he didn't want to have his taxi seen near the stadium. That's how much he didn't like Rangers. As I jumped out of the taxi, he chucked me a green Celtic top, and it's the first time I've seen him smile. His passing words were, "Enjoy that place and get them to sign that, will ya?" Well, I've got to tell you that the Ibrox tour was absolutely fantastic, and there was a tour guide called Sandy Fraser who was brilliant. I learned so much on that tour, and some of the stuff which I learned I'm going to share with you in this very special episode on the Ibrox Stadium. So, Ibrox was opened all the way back in 1899, which, as I record this today in June 2025, was 126 years ago. In 1902, it was just a big wooden stand that began to become unsafe. So much so that at one point it collapsed, and some fans very sadly lost their lives in the process. That stand was then removed entirely, and the club focused on building a bigger and a safer stadium. But over the years, that stadium went on to see many sad moments. The main stand at Ibrox is built with a type of red brick from Wrexham. That red brick stand, which is very famous, is called the Bill Struth stand. If you've not heard of Bill Struth, we'll have to do an episode on him one day, because my goodness was that man a legend. He is a Rangers legend who managed the club for 34 years and held a range of other roles. He won 18 Scottish Championships, 10 Scottish Cups and the first ever Scottish domestic treble. Bill Struth has paintings and pictures and sculptures all over Ibrox. It's hard to get across what a legend he is to the team and to the club in general. He's probably the greatest ever employee at Rangers. Oh, and one more little fact on that stand at Ibrox. It's now what is called as listed, which means it's protected and basically it can't be replaced or knocked down. So hopefully it'll be there for hundreds and hundreds more years. And a little fact I was told on the tour is that stand alone, that famous red brick, which is unmistakable when you're outside and when you're in the stand, has 1,018,000 bricks in place. That is a lot of bricks. And what I should have asked was, who counted all the bricks? As time went by, the crowds at Ibrox got bigger and bigger, and one of the biggest crowds ever known in the history of the stadium was of course in a game between Rangers and their bitter rivals Celtic. A whopping great 118,567 fans were in attendance for that game. Can you imagine the noise? These days, the maximum football capacity for the stadium is 51,700, which is still big in that old stadium, and let me tell you, those 51,700 fans generate a lot of noise, and we'll come on to that a little bit later on. One of the many great things about Ibrox is how it is still so original. When you walk into the stadium through one of the entrances, you will walk into the Hall of Fame stairway. There's a wooden board on the wall which tells you about all the legends who have contributed to the club in such a big way. Rangers FC have had lots of managers over the years. None of them have lasted as long as Bill Struth did, but they've all had their own input on the stadium and the things that have gone on there. One of the other things I learnt on the tour was how respected Steven Gerrard is. He introduced so much stuff at that Ibrox Stadium, stuff which is still there today. There's a good story about the away dressing room which I've got to tell you. You'll probably find this quite comical, and it's a bit of a classic football club trick. The away team's dressing room is full of tricks. Naughty tricks too. Firstly, the away team's dressing room is very, very basic and has uncomfortable wooden benches. The club has also purposely installed the clothes pegs at an uncomfortable and fairly unreachable height, so it's difficult to hang your clothes on. Also, everywhere you look is Rangers FC. And as the story goes, the manager Bill Struth initiated this stuff. He asked the staff 2 days before every home match to open the windows in the away dressing room. He wanted it to be bitterly cold in there. It was all about getting in the opponent's heads. When they walked into that away dressing room, all he wanted them thinking in their heads was, the sooner I get out of here, the better. Another thing about the away dressing rooms was that the windows were never cleaned. So not only were they wide open, but they were a bit stinky too. Apparently though, they did get cleaned in the coronavirus pandemic. And the last one on the away dressing room, the 51,700 fans who go into the stadium, well, a big chunk of those have to walk past the wall, which is where the away dressing room is. And get this, thousands of them are very much aware of that. So not only is it bitterly cold, do they have to stand on the bench to reach up and put their clothes on the peg, but they also have to put up with the fans thumping the wall as they walk past singing Rangers songs. The home dressing room, however, at Ibrox is completely different. A huge Rangers crest lies on the changing room floors, reminding the players where they are and what it means to play for the club. There's beautiful blue padded seats, lockers for their boots and clothes, and state-of-the-art showers and ice baths. There's massage chairs, tactic boards, huge screens all over the ceiling, and much more. Another relatively unique thing about Ibrox is the way that the changing rooms connects to the players' tunnel. Again, it's a clever little system that the club have got going on there. The away changing room joins the tunnel at a different place to the home changing room, and it's a pretty miserable and dull looking entrance. And then you walk into the tunnel. There's bright blue lights shining everywhere, and there are signs everywhere telling you of Rangers' achievements. Everywhere you look is Rangers, 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 and the away team are always left standing there for a good 2 or 3 minutes before the home team join them, just so that they can look at those blue lights and all the achievements a little bit longer. And then a song starts blaring out, a song which is famous and associated to Rangers Football Club. That song is Tina Turner, Simply the Best. So the away team, who have just been in that bitterly cold changing room, are now standing in the bright blue lights looking at all the achievements of Rangers, and then that song comes blaring out onto the speaker, and all they can hear at the other end of the tunnel is the Rangers fans really going for it. That is when they're joined by the Rangers first team. Pretty intimidating stuff, and it's all a part of getting into their heads and making those away team players think that one thing: the sooner I get out of here, the better. One of the other things you need to know about Ibrox is it is officially in the top 10 of the loudest stadiums in the world when it comes to football. For some of the Old Firm derbies, which is a match play between Glasgow Rangers and Celtic, the noise reaches incredible levels. So much so, it has registered a whopping great 115 decibels, which won't mean much to you, but to put that in perspective, it's like putting your ears really close to a big speaker at a rock concert, which I advise you not to do. It's so loud that health and safety regulations say that anything over 85 decibels could damage your hearing. So 115 decibels is extraordinarily loud, and the atmosphere that creates is special. The Scottish national side have played some of their games there. They normally play them at Hampden Park, but when that place wasn't available, they played them at the Ibrox, and 51,700 fans made them feel like they were at home. Not only is Ibrox really important to football and Rangers, but it's a huge part of the community as well. And through the stadium, the club do so much good for the homeless and multiple charities supporting those in need in Glasgow. The Ibrox really is a magnificent old stadium which is rich in history. And if you're ever in the area, I can't tell you how much you need to go and do a tour of the Ibrox. It really was a fantastic morning which I experienced. So remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about Football for Kids. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams 4-Day Super Sale and get 40% off paints and stains June 6th through the 9th. With prices starting at $29.39, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.